my claim. That's the only reason I brought up solipsism, is that we just have to disregard it because we need to, not because it's like necessarily true. It's like we just have to fucking move through the world.
Yeah. To answer the question that FG asked, it is, or whoever asked, sorry.
I think
Alyssa Nay's metaphysics introduction.
Oh, okay, I don't know it.
Yeah.
Hope it's good. Actually, I hope it isn't.
I'm enjoying
it so
far.
Isn't. I hope you hate it.
So did you say you brought up solipsism just to say that we don't need to worry about solipsism?
Yeah, that was my whole point. Hold on, I made that clear in my argument that I was bringing it up to say whatever we can.
That solipsism really isn't like that big of an issue in the grand scheme.
It's that we dismiss it. We dismiss it dogmatically. We dismiss it because it's useful to, because we don't want. It's not helpful to wander around the world.
Which is exactly why we never bring it up.
I agree with that.
Because we don't need to.
But you're bringing it up too. What the fuck kind of...
You brought it up first.
Wait. You mentioned extinction. Say that real quick.
I don't know what that is. You mentioned...
Yeah, one of the
it's to describe it real quick. There's a difference between using a word and like mentioning it. So using a word would just mean...
Oh, sure.
It means you're kind of putting it into like the context to like invoke its meaning. And then the mentioning is just you're like just invoking the word itself.
Right. He mentioned it. I used it.
Yeah.
I think there is FG, in answer to your question. I think that we can look at things from an empirical lens. So this is where I think it's Sam Harris who might kind of makes this argument based more on human flourishing than opposed to like reason, empathy, things of that nature. And of course, I'm sure he ties all this together at some point, but really his argument for objective morality hinges on this human flourishing concept. And we can actually look back throughout history and see what the human condition has been, population numbers, health, things of this nature.
But it's always a degree of definition, right? Because the religious people are always going to use the word objective to mean intrinsic to the universe, whereas we can find definitions of objective to mean we all agree, or objective outcomes and stuff like that.
Sounds like our definitions of objective are pretty subjective.
Right.
I have just my framework for objective is, as I tried to hammer down in the debate, was that it's either stance independent or based on true facts.
Yeah, I like anything that's objective is either true or false.
Anyway, great conversation. That's all for me. I'll move on to the next question.
Sometimes I really like Wittgenstein when he said that philosophy just feels like a way of just dangling words in front of them, taking them out of context, and then just masturbating with them. I'm like, dude, he was fucking spitting. We're not doing jack shit here.
I mean, there's a reason why the people seem to really find a disgust with Phil Bros.
No, and it's valid.
And Wittgenstein might be onto something there.
Yeah, I love him. He's my favorite.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to Brandon. Brandon, it's been a while since you've been on panel. Glad to see you here again. Your question or comment, please.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I have a question for both sides. I'll ask Vibe and Hunter first, because the prompt says something about, can you have objective morality without God, essentially? Do you guys think it's possible, if God doesn't exist, that moral realism is true? Do you think that's possible?
So I'll go first, I guess. I've said this before, that I do think it's possible. I haven't really been shown I haven't really been
That's a concession, by the way. Get right.
Oh, shit.
True, because it does say can, not does.
Yeah.
That's actually true. That maybe I've actually been on the wrong side of the debate the entire time. Holy shit.
Yeah, these prompts are very subject to what I like to coin.
To my perspective. That's a concession. We just flipped.
Yeah, but the term I like to use, it's very non-PC. It's called prompt raping. It's very much just taking the prompt and just kind of utilizing it to its like very evil extent. And by evil, I just mean
Yeah.
So it's like very like being overly semantic about it. Yeah. Which I've done before.
On Brandon's question too, I actually kind of came to the conclusion before this, like with Hunter, like once again trying to remove God and going, could there be an ultimate? It's not written, but just using like mathematics and logic and physics, an ultimate good for the the end of the universe, where if we play our cards this direction, that would be the best way to do it as a society here on Earth, as species in the universe, and things like that. But then I started thinking, which would mean I would say yes, it can. But then I actually brought it up in the debate. When I actually started thinking that, I was trying to figure out, but what is the, like, who determines what the best ending is, if there is an ending, for all of that? And then all of a sudden now, even if there is that truth, there has to be like 20 different endings depending on what we do. Somehow there has to be a consensus on which ending is the proper ending. And therefore, all of a sudden now I go, well, now the whole concept kind of goes out the window.
I 100% with Vibe. I'm 100% with Vibe, but I'm also like, but maybe someone shows me a stance independent thing and I go, oh, okay, I guess that actually reframes everything for me. And I totally understand having like a genuine vantage point that is objective and above every other human, that is like, it's something that we can point to. But I haven't been demonstrated that one bit. Like, it really does feel very clearly like it is impossible to have like stance independent just doesn't exist. That there is no universal standpoint.
Stance independence categorically or in the realm of morality?
I would say categorically. I feel like
that's a big burden you just put on yourself.
Is it?
I mean,
hold on. I'm just
yeah,
thinking
what
about
would
physics.
be the argument
Maybe
for that be?
well, I would say that Einstein said very clearly that there's not a universal standpoint, that motion is all relative to the observer. I don't know what else that applies to. Is there another field that I'm not thinking of that it fucks my position?
Like, do you think the moon is stance independent, or do you think it depends on our stances?
The moon's motion absolutely depends on our stances.
No, its existence, not the motion.
That's a weird.
You want to say yes, right? Like it exists.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Independently.
But it's difficult to say because there's so many realities that seem so obviously true, like the Earth being flat, that ended up not being true. That it's kind of hard to say. But maybe that's also just appealing to objectivity, because I'm saying that we just haven't discovered it yet, but it's still out there.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I might have to chew on that one a little bit. Yeah. But I would probably say no. I would probably say that I'm a realist when it comes to things existing. But I don't know.
But I would also ask, like, let's just grant that there is the right answer for everything universally, right? My next question to be that if I were to grant that, is it knowable? Will it ever be knowable by us? And I would say that actually probably isn't. We're probably actually never capable of knowing it 100%. The moral progress may be like right now we're at 10% of knowing it, and maybe someday we'll get up to 20% of being
But it's
morally
an
correct.
asymptote. We're just we're just approaching
Yeah.
it. And we'll never.
I mean,
actually
it's
get
similar. It
Correct.
would be similar to how the scientific method kind of approaches to the fact of the matter on stuff like biology or physics. Something similar to that. Oh, Hunter's about to say something
Sure.
here.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, and I think it also depends on what you mean by no, of course.
Yeah, that's.
I did have a question for the other side though. It sounds like Bones is kind of on the fence. I don't even think he's necessarily a realist, right?
I am very much on the fence. Like I said,
Sure.
I had about maybe a little under 24 hours to prepare an argument in favor of whether more realism can exist, with a very like fledgling knowledge of meta ethics in general. So that was probably the best I could come up with in that span.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, my question was going to be if you guys take any specific meta ethical theory.
I like.
Okay, go ahead. Objective ethics.
Well, no, my subjective ethical system is utilitarian. I feel very convinced by, like, just strict utilitarian.
And to put my cards on the table, I am an anti-realist. I'm not a realist.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Based, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I don't necessarily separate ethics from morality when it comes to this particular question. I think that we can identify that categorically it functions to say like medical ethics or legal ethics or business ethics or whatever it is. But that's just to establish it there. Once we set this goal, there are principles that we can then apply to said goal. So I think that works functionally the same way with just saying that, as I've said before, once the goal is established, we can obtain true facts to lead to the goal. So I don't think it's useful, in my
That's
opinion,
subjectivity.
other than moving the conversation to whether or not both can exist, which I think is actually a good conversation to have. Can we have both objective and subjective views on this? But I'm not sure how to really put all that together, because it's not the position I hold.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll
it
talk
feels
more in
bad.
It feels crazy the
shit
more we
show
talk,
side of
but we're
things.
just shifting onto each other's sides, because I feel like that was a subjective talking point for sure, and I've said some objective. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're all little ducks in the like deep pond of philosophy. Okay, we're all trying to get along our own way here. But to answer Brandon's question, honestly, within the span of the 24 hours, I kind of fuck with like a moral naturalism, and then also like constructivism is also kind of sitting in there. Virtue ethics as well, like that also like seems like something that seems pretty like interesting.
What's I've only
Prior
heard,
to kind
I've
of
only-
deep diving into
real quick.
meta ethics for like 24 hours.
I've only heard constructivism in terms of linguistics and math. What is it in terms of ethics? What is constructivism?
So basically, constructivists kind of assert that there are like moral facts, but unlike other systems which other moral naturalist theories don't really have a great answer to, like the moral imperative. A constructivist says that there's a certain process that you go through in order to kind of determine whether there is a moral imperative to do something.
So I
I could be wrong, but that's like my.
I just
very,
looked something
like,
up.
first
I just looked
glance.
something up real quick. It says ethical constructivism is the meta-ethical view that moral truths are not objective, stance, independent facts waiting to be discovered. Boom, bah!
Oh shit! No,
He's on our
no!
side.
Fuck. But yeah,
That's
well,
a
like
good
I
section, by the
said,
way.
it's span of like 24 hours. That's probably where I'm like sitting at. Which is to say, I'm unsure about moral realism,
Base.
and that unfortunately, I'm a LARPer.
I came up here to LARP. It's okay. I was going to LARP as a realist. It's fine.
All right. All set, Brandon? All right. Clay, I'm going to kick it over to you, sir.
Cool. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you guys for coming up and having this discussion, this debate. This was actually really enjoyable. I have to give Bones a lot of credit tonight, bro. It was actually pretty good watching you. Thank you.
I'm
Also,
not sure whether to take that as a compliment,
I know,
given
he
our
said-
previous interactions.
He said
with him.
actually like it was surprising. He's like, usually you fucking suck. Actually,
No.
this time it was not bad.
nah, it was good though. It was good. It's a compliment. So I'm really glad that you guys got off the subject of whether God exists or not. I know that's how the conversation started out, and that I think is one of the difficulties in having this conversation of whether these things like objective morality can exist without God. It kind of can go all sorts of different ways, and one of the ways it did go immediately was whether God exists or not. But you guys actually got to the conversation, got to the real debate. But I did have some questions in regards to some of the things that you guys were saying on OE's and Bones' side. In reference to the is-ought problem. One of the things that I noticed is that you guys were presenting a lot of mathematical axioms as facts, which is accurate. This is true. These things are reality. We have to go by these things. But a circle, a square, these things are not morality. These things are just simply real, if you will. Whereas what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong is what we're talking about when we're talking about morality. And so that's where I was hoping you guys would get into. And you did present some arguments and present them as, it's just obvious. It's not right to, unalive, little babies, blah, blah, blah. However, with that said, there's also the arguments against, well, what if you know that baby grows up to be a horrible, horrible person? And I feel like you contended with that very well. However, I think my question is going to be about the human mind itself. And I know this goes into solipsism, if you will. Indulge me for a minute on that. When you're talking about the people who decide, the group, the we, I think this was the biggest contention that I had, especially with UOE, is you kept saying, well, we decide, which presents to me the question, who is we and who is not we? And if we agree and not we disagrees, then why do not we disagree?
I think I followed that. You kind of lost me at the we's, not we's. I'll be honest with you. I'm getting a little hungry, so I'm starting to maybe lose my focus a little bit. But you brought up, so
Yeah, we need an Oreo break.
and I want to follow you, Clay, just to make sure here. So stop me if I'm wrong. But it seemed to me you started talking about the is ought problem, the guillotine, right? And I did bring that up at the beginning of my opening argument because a lot of people do try to introduce the guillotine into this conversation. And so we know we can derive oughts from ises, both linguistically by building the bridge, right? And with the if, like I gave the example, if a surgeon wants to perform a successful surgery, they ought to sterilize their equipment. So this ought is built off of the is, right? And we bridge that logically with the if. The other thing we can look at is just empirically. So I mentioned the oxytocin, right? So there's, if I want oxytocin, I know I have to play nice with others. That's how oxytocin is generated in the body chemically, right? Biochemically. I crave oxytocin as a part of my biological genetic makeup. The is literally caused by the ought. So hopefully that addresses kind of the is ought situation. And I would refer you to other scholars who've already addressed this, because Hume did not say this is a universal thing. You cannot do this. Socrates, Plato, all the way up through Dr. Carrier specifically addressed this is ought gap, and a lot of people misunderstand this. The other thing I would say is the in-group, out-group. So what we're looking for is building up a justifiable argument, right? It's an argument that justifies our particular position. So if we know that cooperation works, then it logically follows that more cooperation would work better. So somebody I think earlier said, well, we can have instances where moderation is good. And I said, absolutely. But how does that actually apply then to cooperation, moderate cooperation versus just cooperation? I think it kind of falls apart. Logically speaking, I can't conceptualize a situation where more cooperation is actually worse for people than less cooperation. I can't. Now that might be my own ignorance, my own incredulity, and I may have to just, bite that bullet at that point.
I do want to
go ahead, Hunter. Yeah.
Couple things. First off, I very much disagree with your is odd answer, where like if whatever, what was it? If a surgeon wants to save a patient, he ought to perform surgery or something like that.
Clean
If
it
a
up.
surgeon
Yeah,
wants
he
to
ought,
perform
sterilize the
successful
equipment.
surgery,
Yeah, clean
he
equipment.
ought to sterilize his
Great,
equipment.
clean the
Because
equipment,
we know
great.
that the sterilization of equipment will statistically improve the chances of successful surgery.
That material conditional is a statement in of itself. It's not Q. It's not that's if P then Q, not Q itself. It's not
If you're just arguing that it doesn't follow logically, then
no. Well, no, I'm saying you didn't ascertain any ought. That's an is statement that is true, but ought that to be the case? Ought it be the case that if a surgeon wants to heal a patient that you should clean his utensils? You haven't answered that question. You've
That's just
only
how it
declared that it
is.
We
is.
did with the
That's
bridge
very
by
good,
saying,
Hunter. Yes,
we did with the
that's
bridge
very
by
good.
saying if the surgeon, then the surgeon ought to. That's the
Yeah,
link
but
right there.
what you need there is a premise that states P that
for
that a
the
surgeon
why.
wants it.
Right. Why is the ought there?
Because it's based on the if conditional. So if he wants to do this, he ought to do that, because we know that doing that will lead to the goal. If that's the goal he wants, he ought to follow certain steps that will lead to his goal.
What if the goal is not desired?
I think Hunter's trying to say that conditional if the surgeon wants to save the patient or whatever, then he ought to sterilize his equipment. I think he's saying that conditional you're not showing that that's true, right? That would need to be shown to be true. Are you
No.
saying something like that?
No, I'm saying that is true, but that not ought to be true. The if P then Q is true, but it's not ought to be true. What you do need to do in order to invoke Q, all you're claiming is that if P then Q is true. You're not invoking that Q is true. You need P to be true for Q to be true. So you would need to
Also-
actually invoke that the surgeon
Yeah,
ought
no-
to want this.
If I may
such
too.
that-
If
Go
I
ahead.
may
Also,
too.
it's also
This-
just like a formal fallacy.
Go ahead, Clay,
as
because
well.
it's your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, the when you're doing logic, right? You got to exclude a middle, right? Where's the excluded middle?
It's confused.
Right. Why is it that I should do it is answered, but the answer of why it is that I should not do something else is not
So-
answered.
So the symbolic representation of this argument is actually like P implies Q, Q therefore P. I think that's like formally like it's
Wait. Say it one more
Not
time. Say it
valid.
one more time.
the symbolic
yeah.
construction of the
Is-
of OE's argument
Yeah,
is like P implies Q, Q therefore P. I just,
exactly.
that to me just sounds like
Exactly.
invalid.
If
Yeah.
I may,
Which,
here
Which
it
is
is,
why.
here it is.
God,
why
wait,
is
wait,
that-
hold on.
why
Let
is
me
doing-
let me
hold
like
on,
work.
hold
Wait. Let me
hold on.
work through it, Clay. Let me work through it. Like
Okay.
there's like another interpretation. There's another way to go through the is-ought gap, and I'm like blanking the fuck out right now because I was just listening to like a K&B video about this, about this specific idea, and it's that there's another way to kind of interpret it, and it's that in a similar way where we can kind of like describe like what a hedgehog is, but we can't like ascribe like all of these properties to kind of be like necessary. In the same way that you ought to like do a certain set of procedures to do like a surgery in order to attain some goal or some like concept. It's like it doesn't
Right.
necessarily
But still-
follow that if all of these are true, then that is true.
That's my
But
point.
if
Yes.
we just reject
It
it,
does
then
not
we're kind of
necessarily follow.
betraying the concept
Right.
of like what a like sterile like surgical background is, or
Yeah,
a
so
sterile surgical
the,
like,
the law
environment.
of
rather.
excluded middle. Why would it?
I don't think that has anything to do with the law. of
I'm
excluded
confused
middle.
about it. Yeah.
No, no.
I'm also confused.
I'm trying to explain it. I'm trying to explain it. Okay.
That's fine.
Why would it necessarily be immoral to do otherwise?
OE, that might be for you then.
Yeah.
Not sterilize
That is
the equipment, or in
No,
another
not want
hypothetical.
Oh,
Yeah, even if you just go straight for the sterilizing of the equipment, right? So I'll give you an example. Doctors in triage in the field in war, right? Now they might not have enough time to suture a wound, so ultimately sterilization might go out the window, right? So each instance presents its own value within the moment as to what might be necessary. So not every single situation presents the same answer.
and let me interrupt for just a moment, only because that's a big 200
nice.
whopping dollars on the screen. I will read all of the other super
Aussie
chats
bucks.
at the end of the Q&A, but this is a big fat red dono on my screen. It's my favorite color. Shout out to Fourth Wiseman. Here's Sarah and everyone. Keep going. I gotta go in a few minutes. We love you so much, Fourth. We'll definitely be around later if you're coming back. We appreciate you. Love you so much. Tomatoes in the chat for Fourth Wiseman if you haven't already. And I'm going to leave that one up on the screen for a little bit. Go ahead, Clay. I apologize.
Thank you, Fourth Wise Man. It's always great to see you come through and lay down a banger. Appreciate that. But essentially, with the is-ought problem, I think that what Hunter was pointing at about logic itself kind of comes into play about how not everybody is going to have the same tools within their own framework of logic. Reason works. I like reason because reason presents an argument, and an argument is giving you the ought. Now, I can also reason to do bad things, what I claim to do, what I claim is good or bad. So essentially, reason just simply doesn't give me enough to even claim morality itself either. What I'm saying essentially is that at some point I have to realize solipsism is the answer. I always need to question what is good and bad. Solipsism is the answer because we all exist within our own minds, within our own bodies. And if we work together, we can get and do something that's beneficial. But that doesn't mean that that beneficial thing is always going to be quote unquote good or bad. And this is actually something I learned in life management skills in high school, because advertisers use these words all the time: good, bad, better, best, worst, whatever, to try to get you to buy their product. And I think that that's where I'm going to leave it. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, I know OE has to get some food in him, so I'm going to try to give these guys a little more time.
I did enjoy speaking with you, Clay. I don't get on these panels very often, but I really enjoyed having a chance to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. And OE, if you do need to step away or if you do need to go, you're more than welcome to. I don't want you to feel held hostage or anything, but I want to send one more big time shout out, because that's another big one coming in over on Mr. Balderson's side from our darling Fourth Wiseman with the 10 gifted memberships. Shout out to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Wiseman. You're the best, brother.
And Ben, it is your turn for Q&A.
I think the only person through this debate that I agreed with in general was probably Hunter's. I don't. It's an extreme twisting of the word objective when you start making it have no object, when you've decided that something I cannot weigh and measure is objective and that other people's opinions are just wrong. This is honestly, if I believed in objective morality, I would say people that believe in objective morality are objectively the worst people and have caused the most damage in history.
That's based as fuck. Asserting your dominance over others.
I guess the response to that would just be that people who claim to have an objective moral framework that was wrong, they would just be like causing like some sort of harm. Like they would just be they would be mistaken about the moral facts, and that mistake caused like substantive moral harm. In particular, like the theistic frameworks, I'd argue has produced a good amount of harm. In general.
I agree. It's particularly like we can easily look at Christianity and all the things that they've done just because other people don't believe the same things that they do. And they have their objective morality. If I believed in objective morality, objectively, that's some shitty shit. And those people are bad people. And they feel like they're good people doing it because these other people have broken this unweighable, unmeasurable, objective morality.
Yeah. So I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier about like whether we should care about a moral imperative in the first place. I actually think that like an objective framework could potentially like skirt away from like that moral imperative and in such a way that there wouldn't be like a motivation in some sense to kind of act atrociously based off of reasoning. And like that could be a way of escaping it. Again, like this is me kind of just like throwing shit to the wind and seeing if it sticks. But I feel like that would be
which I agree.
Maybe Hunter could further regiment this or contest this.
I agree. Functional societal moralities, that's mostly how they derive. So I agree with that. And I think that that's a good process. But to say that it's objective means that every single person has to agree with that.
Absolutely.
Every single person says this is a sharpener. Like that's I can weigh, I can measure it. It's what it is. That there's no arguing this. That's what.
All that moral realism suggests is that there are some like moral facts. It could be the case that there's like one moral fact. It could be the case that there's like 2, maybe 100, maybe 500. But that's all that moral realism really asserts, is that there is an objective fact of the matter to morality.
Right. And I'm saying that is absolutely incorrect. And the people that think that, or at least live by one, that they think that other people are evil specifically because they have a different morality, which automatically takes it out of the objective range. Like that other people
No,
absolutely
not necessarily.
disagree with your
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah, so
disagrees.
all you
with
could
this
argue,
being sharpener.
all you
It's
could argue is that they're
objective.
just wrong about like what the moral fact is, and that's what makes
This
them
is
evil, or they like
object-
arrived irrationally.
You have to prove that there's a moral fact. I can prove
Yeah.
this is a
I
fucking sharpener.
agree.
It's
Yeah,
objective.
the burden is on me to prove that there is a moral real fact. Yeah.
Right. So this unweighable, immeasurable thing, if you're trying to say you're better because this other person disagrees with it, well, that's because
No,
it's
not
unweighable
just
and
because they disagree,
unmeasurable.
but because they're wrong about the fact of the matter.
Who's wrong about the fact of what matter?
In a disagreement regarding morality, a moral realist would say that the other person would be wrong because they are mistaken or incorrect on a certain fact of the matter with respect to morality.
Right. Agree.
Yeah.
And those
And it's
people are
not based off
technically
of just like, it's not just based off of like their thinking. It is based off of like, it could just be like some sort of like practices for reasoning that lead to like this like certain fact being true. It could just be that this fact that some moral realists, especially on the more like theistic side, would just say that they're like transcendental
not
per se. Not that
Yeah,
I
well,
subscribe to that, but yeah,
If
saying
you
the fact
if you
that-
could ultimately prove, right, that there is objective morality without God, and you could lay out the facts that were indisputable, let's just say that exists, you'll still have people, because not everybody is part of this moral agency group that can do that, that will disagree.
yeah, and they would just be wrong. That would
You guys,
it would
guys
just entail
understand
that
the whole
if they
thing where
disagree with a
everybody
moral fact,
agrees
they'd be
that
wrong.
that this is a sharpener. That's why it's an objective fact. The whole
Yeah,
thing where
yeah,
other people can disagree with your saying that we can all on the panel agree grape's a horrible thing, but it's also like in some countries an actual culture and very well celebrated. They love doing that shit. And so they don't think what we think. They also somehow think that this is a sharpener. Like that's because it's objective and subjective.
The only response to that would just be that like certain countries or certain cultures, countries, whatnot, insert any like group of people could be practicing something that is not what we are practicing, and again,
Yeah.
it would just be the case that they would be wrong about it.
And it,
Like
it-
depending on the framework, again, if we kind of invoke a virtue ethics framework, they would just be like holding to an internal contradiction on their beliefs. That if they ought like respect their own well-being, that they through like this like chain of process, they also ought respect other people's well-being as an extent, or otherwise they'd be in contradiction.
nobody said.
I have a question for Ben. Sorry, because
Go ahead,
maybe I'm
Yeah.
confused, and you're taking my side, so I don't want to disagree too much. But I'm just curious what you mean, because it seems like what you're asserting is that morals, because they're not cross cultural, it means that they're subjective, and situations that are cross cultural, like whether or not that's a sharpener, those are objective. Couldn't you say that?
Objective includes an object, something we can weigh and measure.
Sure.
That's a
Could
weird
you-
definition of objective. then.
Hold on. I'm curious. Would you? It feels weird that you're asserting other cultures believing different things, because I could certainly point to different cultures that believe in flat Earths, and Earth is definitely like a substance that is weighable, that is measurable. Maybe not traditionally, but it's certain. Like we still know the weight of the Earth, and there are cultures that disagree, and I would probably say that that's objective. Would you not?
I would say that because you actually can't weigh and measure it, it is an objective. That's the problem. That's where that's coming in. That's why other people will disagree, because there isn't actually an objective weight. You're making an extrapolation and of information. You aren't actually weighing and measuring it.
I mean, okay, hold on. With respect to like whether the Earth is flat or round or an oblate spheroid,
But this
there is
is
a
why
specific.
they-
Whoa there. Let me get my point in. There's this specific experiment called Foucault's pendulum, and basically over the course of that experiment, it's trying to determine whether the Earth is actually rotating, which would be a feature.
Why'd you do this,
either-
Hunter? I blame you for this, Hunter. Right?
I
It would be a
apologize.
so it would be a
I'm
feature
sorry.
of either.
I
Like,
should have just said you were right and then shut up.
Yeah, so it'd be
straight
a
up,
feature of the-
straight up. Now we're
Well,
drugged into this bullshit.
So it would be a feature of the flat Earth if it rotated in like this specific way, and then it would be a feature of a round Earth if it rotated in another way. The
the fuck
experiment
does that
showed
have
that
to
the
do
Earth
with
rotates in a way that
Earth
is in
rotation?
concordance with a round Earth. And so
You're
that
bringing
evidence
in
leads us to
rotation
believe
and
that
Earth
it is more
rotates
likely that a
there.
round Earth exists rather than a flat Earth.
Can we get
So if you
back
want to
to
continue to
can we
try
get
and
back to
steamroll me, that's
morality?
perfectly fine. But I'm just going to continue to talk and finish my point.
Your point is moot. It didn't even have anything to do with what was just being said. Now you're bringing in rotation of the
So
Earth.
yeah,
'cause you
these
don't wanna
these
talk
are
about
evident.
flat Earth yet.
It is evidence in favor
talk
of a
about
specific
morality.
proposition to demonstrate whether it's true.
You can't actually get away and measure and weigh this. This is why they argue, because
Well,
you're
yeah, you
extrapolating
can't- you- okay,
information.
this
You're
is
not weighing
retarded.
and
What was that?
measuring. Oh,
Okay,
geez.
so yes, you can. Yes, you can measure. Foucault's pendulum is measuring the rotation of the Earth,
You're using
and
an
it's dependent
extrapolation of
specifically on the
information.
latitude
You're
and the
not weighing and
longitude,
measuring.
and it's derived in such a way where it is only dependent on the latitude and longitude, and it is in concordance with
You're-
what
you're
we would
assuming-
expect on a round Earth.
You're probably assuming a uniform consistency to the Earth.
He
right?
assumes a
Right,
lot
no,
of things.
Yeah.
It's
The assumptions
it's
for
gotten
Foucault's
so
pendulum
far
includes
from
that
the
the Earth
fucking
is like
argument,
perfectly
I just don't
spherical.
even wanna
It
play
is
with
an oblate spheroid, and I believe there are corrections for an oblate spheroid specifically.
Yeah, but
But the point still stands that it's more likely that the Earth is going to be round based off of this given set of facts and how the Earth rotates rather than a flat Earth based off of a different set of equations.
All right.
Well, Balderson, I will say, I'm not going to push back whatsoever on the claim that people who claim to have the keys to morality have, in fact, done horrific things historically. In particular, organized religions have used this as a cudgel to do terrible things. So I'm totally with you on that. The only thing is, I'm having a really difficult time. It's probably my own, lack of education in philosophy and a lot of other areas. But I'm having a difficult time tying everybody's perspective together. It sounds to me like you're saying there is no such thing as objectivity outside of objects that can be weighed and measured, which isn't a working definition of objective that I'm familiar with. So that's probably, again, my own.
weird the word
fault here.
object is in there then, right?
What's that, brother?
So
It's weird the word object is the main word in that then, right?
holy equivocation fallacy.
Well,
that-
I think the
Just-
delineation.
Well, no, that's actually root word. Dump. It's actually root word dump.
Yeah, I know. You're just using the incorrect usage with respect to the
No,
conversation.
objective
All
because you can
objective
weigh
is
and
meant
measure
up
it.
until your
Subjective
invocation,
is
by the way,
fit in
has
your
been
head.
that the
Like
specific
most
position
everything
is
you ever
mind
say,
independent.
Bones,
All
the
that
shit in your head.
objectivity is referring to is a mind independent thing that exists.
Right.
Or like some
So
sort of
it's
concept that
so
exists.
it's an object, something we can weigh and measure. It's not.
It's
in your
not just
fucking
an
head.
okay, not just an object, but a
fucking
concept too that
retard.
exists mind independently. Are you actually incoherent? Like, what are we doing?
You are fucking.
It doesn't just
retarded.
refer to objects.
It's not just.
It
in your
doesn't just
goddamn
refer to
head.
things
I
that
can weigh and
naturally
measure
exist.
it.
It
I can't
refers
weigh
to
and
things
measure
that
the shit in
specifically
Bones'
exist
head.
mind independent. Are you confused? That's
I'm
fine.
not
You can be confused.
confused.
The problem
I'm
is
not
you're not going to
confused.
sit here and assert
Mind
that
independent means
that
it's
your
an
usage is
object.
the correct usage when we've been using it in an entirely different way respective to you.
Mind independent means
You just
there's
weren't
an
listening to the
object.
conversation, which is fine.
Shut
Oh,
the
the
fuck
two
up, Bones,
of
you
you.
fucking little bitch.
Hold
Crash out,
on,
crash
hold
out,
on. The
crash
two
out.
of you
Stupid bitch.
always get heated, and I love the heat. But I want to say, Fourth Wiseman also sent over on Ben's side a big hundo. He says, for the Benjamin Fund. Can't stay, but enjoy.
Thank you
Yes,
for
we love you, Fourth. And of course, if you want to stop an entire Q&A session and put red on my screen and I will stop it. Okay. Kraut is going to kick us off once we move over to the gauntlet, but I want to make sure that we are getting that there. Backstage, I do have Alley Cat, Tavo, and Black Magic hanging out. They would love to come and join us. But now that we're going into gauntlet mode, you have to boot somebody off to be able to get them on. So in the meantime, OE, I wanted to give you, did you want to make your exit before we maneuver?
Yeah, I am but I will jump into the chat so I can at least listen and follow along. But on my way out the door, I'd just like to reiterate what I said. I want to thank both of my opponents today for being respectful and intellectually honest and engaging with the actual questions and not dodging and all the bullshit that I see happen in a lot of these performative debates. I'd like to thank Sarah for hosting this, another great show. I'd like to thank Bones for jumping in last minute, and it's really unfortunate. But I'm sure Nobody on Fire had a really good reason, some family work, whatever it might have been. So I want to be gracious to him as well. And just want to thank everybody for their participation. And please do like and subscribe to everybody's channel. And other than that, I'm gonna just see my way out. Thank you so much.
Hey, wait, hold up real quick. I just want to say that, sir, if you don't mind, you seem pretty base. Even though I disagree with you, I got to give you credit. You don't seem like you're coming from a biased viewpoint, so I'll give you credit for that.
I appreciate that very much. I do work really hard at trying to search for truth and acknowledge my own fallibility. And I think we need to approach life with a certain sense of humility, right? It's one of the virtues, and I don't really necessarily argue from virtue ethics until we get to the point of how do we determine what these moral facts are, which we never even got into that today. But I think that virtue ethics is a really good way to get there. I think that we can look at it from two different positions. I think we can take the secular Buddhist position and look for the middle way. The Four Noble Truths lead to the Eightfold Path, and that really helps us to understand what the middle way is. You can also look to it from Aristotelian golden mean, right? That perfect medium between excess and deficiency. That's where these virtues lie. So we can look at anything like courage, right? You have revenge and you have fear, right? And so at this point, this is where courage actually lies. Or I'm sorry, I said revenge. I meant recklessness. So you have recklessness up here, you have fear down here. In the middle, we can find where this virtue lies. And I think that we can apply this to our lives, whether morality is objective or subjective. If I understand at a fundamental level that I can live my best life by making sure that my neighbor is living their best life and has everything they need. If my neighbor isn't going hungry, he's not likely to come steal my food. If my neighbor's not sick, he's not likely to come give me a disease, right? So on and so forth. So to live my best life, I benefit by helping my neighbor out. And I feel like if we did this on a global scale, not that we need global politics or global religion or global whatever else, but we do need this global sense of humanity, that I think that if cooperation was experienced on a global level, there would be no more wars. There would be no more fighting. There'd be no world hunger. We wouldn't be fucking up the planet and the environment and so on and so forth. So this is what I try to push for, and I try to live my life in this way. So thank you so much for recognizing that.
Yeah, one last thing. I just want to say, even though we disagree on this thing, I'm sure we agree politically, and that matters more. So I appreciate you, and it's been a good debate. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, OE. And where did Vibe go?
He was getting some rain or something, so I think his.
I just saw it. For some reason that disappeared. Okay, all right. If you are watching over on the Raging Tomato on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, X, Insta, whatever, I am shutting all of those ends down, and we are moving over to the Gauntlet on YouTube. That is at the Gauntlet Debate on YouTube, at the Gauntlet Debate. You have to head there if you'd like to continue. Otherwise, we're going to shut that down. Okay. I do want to get through some super chats that came in during the Q&A session. If you bear with me, I just got to disconnect everything. I think that was actually a really good debate. I've never seen it be so well done between everyone. Okay, we've got Spin City. Says sending some love. Hail Ben. I think that was over on Ben's side. Shout out to you. Zillzone says objective Vikings for the win.
I mean, speaking of Vikings, how excited are we about Norway in this World Cup?
Yeah,
because I feel like Holland is an absolute beast.
World Cup.
Yeah, dude.
You watch soccer?
Yeah. That shit's fun as fuck.
Oh, dude. I've never watched soccer before. My friend Steve showed me the guy he's talking about, Erling Haaland. This dude is he's an absolute beast.
He's a unit, dude.
He is, like, the physical things that this dude does is insane. Plus, when they were playing Israel, he literally just took an Israeli and chucked him into the ball and scored a goal. You can't fucking beat that. And then drank the goalie's water. And then they donated money to Palestine. Fucking Andy drinks raw milk. Dude's a stud.
Fair enough. Zillzone says objective Vikings always win. What else is there to talk about? My Viking morals are moral. Fucking Zill. Zill, I think, needs to come back up after he's had a couple more beers.
The part about that is the actual Viking era was probably there was more Christians than heathens involved in that. That was mostly Christians by 900. All the leaders of Northern Europe were all Christianized, and all the Vikings the heathens had moved to Iceland. So
the Vikings were Christians?
Mostly, yeah.
The Vikings got converted into Christianity. And they kind of adopted kind of a meld between like Christianity and some like quote unquote pagan beliefs.
by
an
700 by 700 they had missionaries everywhere. Basically what they consider the Viking era is approximately 800 to 1100, and so by 700 they had missionaries everywhere. By the mid 800s it was mostly converted. By 900 the entire leadership of Northern Europe was all converted over to Christianity, and for 200 more years the Viking era still
I
lasted.
thought Vikings and Christians were two different things. I thought they fought.
Yeah, I
Not necessarily.
know. Hollywood's very confusing. I know.
So correct me.
The media's
The
been lying
Vikings.
to you.
The Vikings were Christians.
Mostly, yeah. It's Viking is a term that basically means raider. You would go out to war, go do these things, go out fight.
To Viking, right? To Viking. It's actually
To Viking. That's an era of Northern Europe. It's after the Great Northern Expansion. And it's again approximately 800 to 1100 by 900 AD.
So while they were on their missionaries trying to save people, they were also raiding people.
Yes.
Interesting. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that you could save people and raid them at the same time. Good
Yeah,
job.
it's almost like privateers.
Not all
right.
religious people are good.
Dragon Fist sends in the big five, says, what about maximum endless suffering for every little thing in the universe as the objective moral worst case? Then you can work forward from there.
I would say that very quickly you're going to have a fork in the road where you're going to need to choose which living thing you're going to need to prioritize for a moral action. And then what do you do then? So like this, then you can work forward from there. That's a load bearing phrase there if I've ever seen one.
I would even argue that you can't even start, right? Like, how do you know you're not there now?
Yeah, because honestly, how do you know whether your actions are actually going to increase the like
maybe this is the bad
suffering
place.
threshold? But yeah, it says that it's maximally suffering, but
So
I mean,
here's the problem with
like,
this.
how do we do the triage at this point?
Here's the problem with this. Growth is what comes from suffering, typically, no matter what situation you're in. And so with this maximum suffering, I also have achieved the maximum growth in the epitome of this species. This is the same concept as behind dark shamanism, where they literally torture kids. Most of those kids fold. But of the ones that make it, these are basically considered Ubermensch prophets. So they're the epitome of the species. So what are you trying to do? This is the problem.
Have you ever seen a field that has burnt, like the whole field's burnt, right? Like a month or two later, what color is that field? It's green, right?
Green.
And it's the brightest green you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Your growth.
All right. Fourth Wiseman sends the Big Ten. Which WWE are you referencing? Clay. I've got a wet pocket. Can't stay long, very busy. Hi, everyone.
That would be, I don't know which we. Yeah,
I said WWE. Sorry. I meant we.
Hey, you know what? That's a we could reference here, right? They've got their own morality. I mean, you see those guys come on. I mean, where's Gibbs when you need him, right? But seriously, like all the Wii's out here, there's like, I don't know, countless Wii's, right? I got a Wii, right? The Wii that's in my, no, I have a Wii in my head.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff. Right? But in reality, right, I'm one man. I have one mind. This is actually why I don't believe in what do they call it, multitasking? Because you only got one mind, right? There ain't no we. It's just you and then everybody else. You're on your own.
Fair enough. Andy sends a Big Ten, says objective comes from objectum, a thing thrown before or that to which an activity is addressed. So you can have material objects or formal objects, not just something you can weigh and measure. Any thoughts to that?
This is an etymology fallacy, and I fucking hate them. Just because you can call something a villain. Oh, so villains are poor people, because that's actually what the etymology of what villain comes from. It comes from villa, meaning some poor dude. That's not the use case that exists now. So we should dismiss etymology, it can be interesting historically and anthropologically speaking, but it doesn't inform the way that the words are currently being used.
I actually very much agree with you on this point. Now, it's interesting because if you actually look at the Latin words in their original form, that translation doesn't do justice to what we use the current language for, right? The English. The translations never get right. We do the best we can with what we mean, and we tend to understand each other the best we can. But even just us speaking back and forth in English, we still don't understand what each other means. And so when we're talking specifically about definitions, that's why it's so important to extrapolate out exactly what we mean, especially when we're talking about the ought claims, because then maybe we can reach a better, more reasonable standard. But in all reality, is it objective or is it perfect? If you're looking for perfection, I don't see it coming.
Is that Andy?
Yeah,
Is that Andy, the philosopher guy?
Mm-hmm. I love Andy.
You're fucking awesome. I love you, dude. And that doesn't. And mind independent means that it's an object. That means anybody can. It's just there. It doesn't exist in your mind.
Hold on.
So and it can be weighed and measured. Yeah.
Is no one gonna suck my dick for that village etymology that I just came up with?
I was
off the top of my head? Like, that was pretty fucking on point and cool.
I'm not going to do that part, but I did give you the kudos, and
thank you. I
actually
appreciate
piggybacked right
That's
off
all
of
I'm
it.
looking for.
Hey,
Yeah,
Clay,
I just-
it's not gay if you
Yeah,
wear gloves.
Sorry, say that one more time.
I told Clay it's not gay if he wears gloves. So
There you go. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah, to kind of like piggyback off this, like a good
It's always
practice
funny when
in
people try to
any-
claim inherent knowledge in language. I mean, languages are wild. Languages are weird. Like especially Japanese. If you ever hear literally what Japanese people are saying to each other, I mean, that language is so the same word in Japanese for ex-wife is the same word for appetizer.
Yeah,
It's fucking weird.
I mean, they have fart demons in that culture. A lot
Oh,
of
Jesus.
their stuff. So
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but before we
Never
move
knew-
off this topic, a good
one super chat.
a
This
good
is all.
starting point in any discussion is if there are any terms that need to be like disambiguated for the sake of the conversation. It's good to maybe get like a reduction of a definition into terms that something into terms of like shared meaning that two or more people can have. That way, like the conversation can progress. Like if someone's saying like, "Oh yeah, this like stick over there is like really cool," and you're
It's in the
referring to
mud.
like this like kind of like you're referring to like maybe like a PVC pipe or something. People aren't really gonna like see that as a stick, but they're gonna see as like maybe like a piece of wood as a stick. And as we kind of like get closer to what a stick means with respect to the conversation, we can then talk about said stick and then move on from there.
This is called linguistic negotiation, and it's
Yeah.
Vital to communities thriving. Anyone gonna suck my dick for that? I had another
Hey,
definition. that
wait,
was
hold
off
on.
the top of my head.
Let's wait. Fuck. Hey, God damn, I can't do it. Hold on. Wait.
What is he trying to do?
Flip it, and then high five. Let's try this.
Boom.
Wait, other side.
way.
Other side.
What?
Sarah, I'm
Yeah.
coming.
You
That's
gotta
how
flip
my-
it. You gotta
this
flip
one?
it. Yep, there we go. Yeah.
Just,
I
we both,
need to flip
like
my camera
everybody
too.
just get a high five and then
Yeah.
everybody wins.
Yeah. Something like there we go. That's
That's right.
hold on.
I am not joining your gay party.
Objective
Wait, it's not
ethics with
gay
the
then.
big at
High
20 says, I concede to Zill. I was wrong. Apparently, Zill has one friend, and that's one more than I would have thought. Shout out
Don't
to
tell-
OE.
Don't tell Objective Ethics that I just did that for the argument, and I actually don't know who that is, and she's not a fucking friend of mine.
Fair
Nice.
enough. James Farley says, Sarah Singh, do you want to build a snowman and ride our bikes around the halls? There you go. That one was stuck in
Spike.
my head for like the last hour.
Not yet.
I'll keep going.
It's crazy
All
what you
the
could.
fucking Frozen songs you could ask
It's
for.
crazy what we could just make you do for money.
Oh, don't you ever feel
Sing.
like
Be
dance
my
monkey
monkey.
dance? Yeah. I'll tell you what, guys, send in donos to make panel members do stupid shit. I'll bet you can make a monkey dance up here. Dragon Fist with the big 5 says, I'm only trying to establish an objective worst case. And no, in this, there would be no growth, only suffering for every living thing.
So isn't that like the North Pole, Like if you're at the North Pole, the only direction you can go is south, right? So that's
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah,
like,
and-
if you're at the objective worst case, the only place you can go is up.
Well, worst is doing all of the heavy lifting there. What do you mean by worst? Worst is typically
Yeah, I know.
understood to be
I
some
like
sort
that.
of normative notion.
Mhm.
That's what's doing the heavy lifting.
Good talk.
Yeah.
Oh,
Great talk,
wow.
guys.
And shout out to Tootie getting a membership over here on the Gauntlet side. We love you so much, Tootie. And let's keep this membership drive going. I will count memberships gifted towards the goal. I think it's a little cheaper, but hey, it's the gift that keeps on giving and it brings people back around. So you should probably do that. It's cheaper and you can keep the show
Objectively,
going.
Dragon Fist Andrew needs to check his fucking Discord more often.
Oh,
shots fired.
he doesn't really use Discord a whole lot. I usually talk to him on either it's either IG or
AOL Instant Messenger.
X. I think he's on X too, or no, he's not on X. It's Instagram. Yeah, it's funny because every panelist has a different thing that they prefer. And so I could be connected to all of them, but I know which one they want to use or know which one gets their attention.
It's the most confusing shit because I'm so bad with these kind of things, and I have to sit there and think for 20 minutes and go through the different apps. Who do I talk to this on this fucking which
Yeah,
app to talk
I have
to?
a Google, or not a Google. I have an Excel sheet with all of you and how I talk to you. It's helpful, but I mean, now it's just implanted in my head. Tootie doing the gift that keeps on giving. Much love around. Gifting out 5 Gauntlet memberships. Congratulations to you lucky lottery winners. And Dragon Fist happened to be one of those on the receiving end. So congrats to you, sir. He kicked ass, by the way. He kicked ass in Vegas. We just did the review last night. Him, Gibbs, and Shaman Omar. We all went to Vegas, kicked tons of asses. Took names. The clips are amazing. And
Debated a crazy person.
Yeah. But we, Andrew and myself, are going back at the end of July for more debates. We've got Brian Shapiro, Dr. William James, I believe his name is, and Andrew isn't staying for the third one, but I'm moderating all of them. And the third one is Jake Barsatella. He's doing the debate con one too, but I can't remember how to say his last name. But we'll be there at the end of July for all of those. So if you are a panelist and a regular of mine and you are interested in going to Vegas for any of the upcomings, I do have more of the roster of who you can debate and the dates for those. Reach out to me and we'll get you set up with Sean for that. Shout out to Andy with the Big Ten. He says, etymological fallacy means treating a word's present meaning as fixed by history. The material/formal distinction is not an etymological claim. Am I saying that word wrong?
Yeah, etymological.
Yep.
That's correct.
Okay.
Etymological.
Claim at all. It's a distinction. I'm not parsing OBR.
I don't know what that last thing is.
Obisser.
I don't know what that last thing is,
Fair.
but this is to me, so I think I should respond if that's
Okay.
You are treating a word's present meaning as fixed by history because you were using its origin to notify you about its current usage. And anyone who studies anything about etymology knows that doesn't work. You can't do that. You can't. I could throw 1,000 examples. I already gave the village example, and no one sucked my dick for it, so I'm not going to give a second example. Okay.
Why do you really want your dick sucked tonight? Is that what's going on?
Apparently.
Maybe it would be nice.
Have you ever met a dude that said no to that?
Yeah, come on.
It's also not the word's origin. It's an
Hold on, though.
arbitrary point in its evolution.
But
Well,
hold on, though. He is on a panel full of mainly men and only one female, and he is
No.
expressing.
Now you got
that he
cloud
wants-
over here.
Oh,
And Cloud
homophobe
Gordon
nudge.
is a good housewife.
If
I
I,
will take
True. True
good
that.
head is good head.
That is
all
right.
if I can, Hunter, okay, this issue really revolves around the etymology. Villa, violent, vile, right? these are the V words that you will find if you actually go back and you look at these etymologies.
They
You're
come
going to
from
find
Hilla.
some interesting things and
Yeah.
interesting correlations of the ideals behind them. What Latin did, it's interesting, is they used a lot of the Roman numerals for their letters too. So it's not just the etymology itself, but the numerology that goes into the ideals behind the words that they used. So it's when you're talking about etymological fallacy and you're specifically referencing the Latin, you're going to need to actually look into the numerology behind certain.
No, I don't. You don't have to.
Even that is a slice in time.
You shouldn't
Even that is a
refer to
slice
the
in time.
history at all. It
If
doesn't
you're
matter.
going to
Current
look at
usage.
etymological fallacy,
You shouldn't be. Wait, hold on. If you look, this is the base claim I'm making. If
Yes.
you want to understand how a word is being used today, the etymology will tell you zero. You have to be looking at how current speakers are.
Yes. I agree with you on this.
Oh, okay, great. Sorry.
Yes, what I'm
I'm
talking
just stupid.
about.
I'm
what
sorry
he's-
that I got fighting.
No,
words
it's
with
fine. What I'm talking about is his claim
Happens a
right
lot.
here, and yeah, I agree that what he's doing,
That
he's
threat
trying
getting
to
threatened with a
present
blowjob.
it.
He's froggy now.
He's
If you're sorry, Clay, if you're watching, I just realized if you're watching over on Objective Ethics side or Vibe side, I do need to disconnect because this is Gauntlet and I never know what's going to happen. So if anything bad happens, I don't want to be on the phone trying to call them sporadically, like go shut it down, private it. Okay, so if you're watching on either of these ends, you want to continue watching, come over to at the Gauntlet debate. That's the Gauntlet on YouTube. Come over here and we'll continue on. Otherwise, I do need to disconnect. We love you so much and thanks for hanging with us tonight. Alrighty then. Back to you, Clay. I apologize.
Sure, yeah, and like I said, I was just trying to make sure to distinguish between the etymological part versus the usage today, right? So yes, we're gonna want to actually examine etymology when we're establishing definitions. This is actually very
Why?
true.
Why?
Yeah, you have to.
Why? What are we talking
To-
about?
to-
Right.
Because
yeah,
I don't want to refer to a hammer as a flugelmiglagen.
Hold
That
on.
doesn't make sense.
Because
not
the
gonna be
reason
able
why
to
that doesn't make
communicate.
sense is because social convention determines that's not what we
Right.
call hammers.
Right.
We don't have to understand where.
I call a village
Sure
a
you do.
villa
Hold on,
because
hold
of
on,
the
hold on.
etymology.
Hold on. Tell me right now what the etymology of hammer is.
If the origin of the
Before you
word
use
hammer
you
was
have
derived from
to
like
know what the
cracking skulls,
etymology
would that
is.
change you how you use it to beat in nails? No. Like the history of a word doesn't matter as far as its current use.
But
It's only
I
its
still
history.
need-
It is
No, no,
only
but
how
why
it
are we
links to the
investigating?
past and
Why
history.
are we investigating etymology at all?
Because somebody brought
why
it up.
study history?
No. The reason why someone brought it up is Andy brought it up to say, look at the definition of the word object, and here's what object means historically, so we can use that to be informed about how objective should be used today. And I'm saying that is stupid. Why are we doing that at all? We should look at how people use the word objective, and then we can determine what objective means.
I'll say though, if you want to know like literature more, if you
What?
want to get
That's not what we're
referential to
doing here.
I know, but if that's a valid way to use like etymology.
I agree. I agree with
Find
you.
meaning.
Yeah, but you use that to define the meaning as it was then, not now.
Yes.
And that's fair. However, to ensure that he and we are on the same page, we have to communicate that. He can't just accept that's just stupid.
Hey, Clay, can I interrupt real quick? Because I didn't really get a Q&A, and Bones has got to leave for the WWE.
Yeah, I've got to dip in a few minutes. I gotta go be degenerate main tank for Rid.
I ain't never played that game. I should. All right, Bones. Do we? I don't really agree with anybody on this panel 100%. But do we know
Not even me.
what objective morality actually is, Bones? Can you give me the definition? Because I'm not going to lie,
Yeah.
I cheated a little bit because I was the last person, so I looked up a lot of definitions just to get my rhetoric down.
Yeah, so the framework for objective morality is that there is at least one claim with respect to moral propositions, and then that claim is true,
Right, but do you,
and that
Go ahead.
stands independently true. Yeah, I need to add that in.
Yeah. So what I looked up is objective morality is an outside source, independent from from thoughts of man. Like,
Yeah. So that comports with like-minded independent.
all right. So where do we base our objective morality if not from God?
So for example, it would be like a set of
Vibes
like
is his
yeah,
answer.
there you go. Yeah. A set of like
Right,
moral
Churchill.
principles. It could just be that there's like some sort of imperative that you must follow.
Well, no, well,
there's
that,
like
with
variety of
respect,
stuff.
that doesn't make sense because morals can be different depending on the culture or the people. Objective morality.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
definition-
Those. My statement for that would be that under like a certain objective moral frameworks, they would all just be wrong about a certain given like idea. For example, we could just take this in like virtue ethics. Basically, to kind of Sparks notes this for you real quick, because I do have to dip like right after this. It's that
Yeah, go
basically
suck
like
my
you
dick.
ought to be treated in a certain way that is like respective of you, and that from there you can extrapolate that you need that other people need to be treated that exact same way. And that's like one way to frame it, and then the other being you have there's objective ethics said it earlier referencing Aristotle. There's like a certain range of like potential like virtues that you can practice, and that like in the middle, like say like courage for an example is like somewhere in the middle where there's like a moderate amount of like a certain what's the word, like confidence per se, where if you're like super like overconfident, you might be considered brash, and if you're not confident enough, you're too meek. But right in that middle is like courageousness, and that would be like a certain like virtue that you could be exhibiting.
Yeah. Well, I know you got to go. I'm actually going to keep my elbows up because I actually want to attempt to battle Hunter here. He seems pretty smart, so I might fail. But yeah, Bones, thank you. I disagree with you, but I know you got to go another time,
Yeah.
brother.
Good
Yeah,
job.
absolutely. So on that note, I'll dip. Anyways, if you like me debating philosophy, this is a new topic that I'm going to be exploring a lot more. I first did this in a Is God Noble debate a few months ago on this panel, actually. And I'm going to try and dip my toes into philosophy a little bit more. So I might change my positions about moral propositions in like a month or so. And then also the other thing, this is now starting to become public. So I will be debating IRL in about a few weeks on the 24th in Dallas. I'll be debating. I don't know if the proposition itself is public, but I will say this. I'm debating politics and in a field where I'm normally not that well versed. So I'm prepping for that. It's a little bit of foreign policy per se. And that's about as far as I'll go with respect to that. So tune in. I don't know what Gibbs has planned with respect to the streaming platforms, but I will be there debating. And otherwise, I'm Bones Doom. I like debating politics. I'm the world's most mid-blood death knight there is. So if you like to see like mid fucking DKs running old ass raids, I'm here for it. And otherwise, have a good night, y'all.
Good night, Bones. Thank you so much, and I'm super excited for your GridCon event. It's gonna be
Absolutely.
fun.
Good
Do
job,
well.
Bones.
Good luck.
Good job.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
All right, Hunter. so-
And well,
better-
actually, Andy is backstage. I'm utilizing his donos as a fast pass because I know he wants to further explain this, and I want to hear it further explained. So, but yeah,
Wait, sorry. Who wanted to spar with me? I'm Andy. I'm happy to talk to you, but who wanted to spar with me?
the housewife, the loving housewife.
Crowd, and you better keep your elbows up, Crowd. You're
Oh,
gonna
there,
burn that
okay.
breakfast, and then you're gonna have to get smacked around a bit.
All right, Sarah. Am I talking to Andy first? Who am I battling? I'm
It's up to
battling
you
Andy
guys.
first.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, Andy. Did I misunderstand your argument?
Yes. Why do you think it's an etymological fallacy? Because I'm showing how somebody has used the term. I'm not saying that's the current definition of objective. But
Oh,
if definition is use, then if somebody else uses the term that way, they're using
Sorry.
it in that way to show their ethics and their metaphysics. And
my bad. My
certain-
bad. I'm
so
sorry.
that's why formal and
My bad.
material is doing the
My
work.
bad. Fuck. Sorry, I didn't realize that you were making a historical claim. I thought you were making a current claim. That's
Well, otherwise you're left with all we can do is talk about objective ethics in the way we use it in English, and that's absurd.
No, totally, of course. No. I didn't. I just thought when you were. My bad. Do you understand what I got mixed up on?
Not exactly, because I just want to clarify. Like an etymological fallacy is like the term decimate really means kill 1 in 10, so we can only use it when we are referencing
Right.
we're killing 1 person in 10.
Right, but we can
That's an
make,
etymological fallacy.
no, totally. But then we can say that it was once used to mean 1 in 10 people, because that's historically
That's
what
one
we're
use
doing.
of it. Yes, that's one
Yes.
usage of the term, certainly.
Yes.
Just like nice could also mean ignorant. Because
I thought you were making current claims about how objective was used based off of the etymology, and I found that silly. And it turns
Well, I
out it was
think-
silly because that's not what you did.
Well, my point was to show someone said objective means weighed and measured because we're talking about objects. That is one way you can define object. Another way that object is used and how it's translated into the English, because English is a horrible language to translate into, is to like something you pointed toward or directed toward.
Gotcha.
And that's not an etymological fallacy.
No,
That's
it's not.
showing
It's
what
not.
the definition of
I agree,
objective
I agree.
ethics is.
Sorry, I just misunderstood what you were saying. So I apologize to everyone. I apologize to Andy.
You don't have to apologize. I just wanted to clarify.
No, valid.
And
I'm like,
that
I can't keep throwing $10 super chat, so I wanted to
Fair.
Yeah, keep getting it wrong.
And that was me, Andy. And absolutely, mind independent means that it's an object that I can weigh and measure. It's not something that requires it to be in my mind. Anybody can pick it up and see it and weigh and measure it. Yeah.
yeah, I guess I don't know. Certainly, it could mean that in some metaphysics. Some ethical
Metaphysics would be
theories.
would be including mind, where now we have things that are only exist in my mind or your mind, and we can all agree on those things and we can all enjoy those things, but it's not objective. And the reason that it's not objective is because some other dude from some other place can't just walk up and pick it up and see it and weigh it and measure it.
I'm
That's
not
why
sure. I'm not sure I'm
I-
understanding your
moralities.
I'm not sure I'm understanding your connection.
Viewpoint and
between-
opinion.
Do you literally mean like you have to be able to weigh it for?
Yeah, because I gave the example of Earth, and you can't weigh the Earth technically, and you're like, so that's not
And
objective.
so obviously people don't objectively agree with the earth being a certain weight or round or the shape or anything, because you can't weigh and measure it. See, that's the whole thing with the objective, is we all agree because it's just a thing. It's mind independent. I don't even have to exist for this container of tobacco to be a container of tobacco. You all know what it is without me. And even if none of us exist, it would still just be what it is. Now, the things that wouldn't exist is my feelers about this container of tobacco.
Well, that's a very materialistic view, though. You're saying that, like, I mean, I could come up with standards for weighing moral impacts, right? We could weigh suffering.
You would still have to then weigh and measure your weights and measure system on it. Maybe I think suffering's good. Maybe I think that without some suffering, maybe I think, and this is actually a fact, that comfort has destroyed the American culture and that these fuckers need some more suffering. If they had more suffering, we would be a better culture.
I can weigh suffering quantitatively. I mean, I can say this is suffering. That's a moral impact. I could weigh it quantitatively. We can actually do that pretty well with functional MRI. We can actually weigh nociception. We
How
can
do you
apply
do that?
quantified variables to it.
There's a reason that you ask people their pain scale and things like that, the 1 through 10, and how bad did this hurt? And everybody, and some people, they suffered horribly, because I have a friend that his dad he went out and shoveled the front walk, and his dad didn't give him $20 for doing it, and it ruined his fucking life.
No,
Boy, that dude
admittedly,
suffered from that. Most of us wouldn't take that as a horrible suffering, and that's the whole thing. We all have our own personal.
Well, if there's a scale, that means it's subjective. If there's a scale, right, and I say 1, right, and the doctor says, well, what are you sure it's not a 1.2? And I say, well, maybe it is a 1.2. And he looks at me and says, wait a minute, are you sure it's not a 1.25?
Just so
right? You see where I'm going with this?
It's
because it's a scale.
Just so we're parsing our language, that 1 to 10 scale, that is, of course, obviously subjective. But there are objective ways to quantify nociception based on functional MRI. I can actually measure metabolic activity. I can measure degrees of neurotransmitter pathways lighting up.
Sure. Sure, what's any of that
Number
got
on
to do with suffering? Maybe the guy's enjoying himself.
What is
No,
the
no,
number?
I
what-
know it correlates with nociception. I mean, this is the physiologic response of unpleasantness.
Okay, but think about like a
And maybe
5-year-old when you
somebody's
take away
enjoying that. You never heard of B&D and S&M?
The image is not the person, sir.
Well, I mean, then you're coming up with like a mind-brain dualism.
Mind and
Paul
brain.
doesn't.
There must be a mind.
I think the
Yeah.
contention that that something isn't real unless it can be materially measured and weighed.
I never said it wasn't real. No, don't put that on me. I'm very into metaphysical things.
Paul doesn't. I
He said
think
it's
you're. I have a
subject.
question for you, quick, just to
Yeah.
understand your position better.
Yeah.
So you said, correct me if I'm wrong. You said mind independent is the same thing. You're basically saying if it's mind independent, it must be weighed and measured, or be capable of being weighed and measured. Is that correct?
It must be an object that anybody can walk up and come to the same conclusion.
And so, what about like mathematical truths? Like there are infinitely many primes.
Thank you, Andy. I was going to go to math. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Or logical truth.
Math is always a funny one because
Isn't that an unproven
something
thing?
as simple as PEMDAS was not fucking universalized until what, a little over 100 years ago, and people did the math in different ways.
Ben, that's
Well,
what
my
it
point is this.
Take
though.
something.
Andy, hold on, Andy. Because the thing that you just presented is not a proven mathematical thing. It's not. Like the infinite number of primes is actually something that's unproven.
Wrong. You can easily prove
Okay,
that. You
how
can
about
prove that
this?
very
Let
easily.
me give you a different example.
Hold on.
Let me give you a
That,
different
wait, no,
example.
no, no.
It's
Euclid
there,
proved
but
this very easily that they're an
Hold
infinite
on,
amount.
on.
You can assume that there's a finite amount
It's
of
an
prime.
assumption.
No, what? You
Well,
can
You
can
just said assume. You can
Oh
assume.
my
That's an assumption.
Let
If
him
you
disagree.
can't
assume that
weigh
there are a
it
finite
your
amount of primes, you
assumption,
can
bro.
very
Hold on.
easily prove that it leads to a contradiction.
What's
You
the highest?
multiply-
What's the highest prime you've ever got to?
No, okay. You do not know how proofs in math work, and that's okay. Let
Oh
me
no,
walk
I
you through this.
actually do. Right?
Hold
They're
on.
called axioms.
Hold on.
What are you talking about?
Hold on.
It would be so much better if we let Hunter explain it.
I'm going to
Go
go
ahead,
through the
Hunter.
proof real quick.
You'll
This
be
is
wrong, but
Euclid's
go ahead.
very famous proof of how there are infinite amount of primes. He goes, assume that there are finite amount of primes. Now multiply all of them together and add 1. Now that number must be prime. So we found a new prime that's higher than all of the finite primes. Therefore, there will always be another prime. That is
How do you know that?
what I don't.
Logic.
You don't.
You understand infinity is conceptual in the first place, and
Yes.
that very much requires a mind. We're
We'll take a
talking about
proposition.
mind-independent things here, folks. This is the problem with
Oh.
objective morality. I can't
Well,
go
I-
pick it up and go, "Oh, don't grape women." Well, okay.
Well, a mathematical proposition like 2 + 2 = 4. I think what Andy's getting at is something simple like that. If there were no minds, would that still be true?
Yes.
Certainly not. Certainly
Okay.
not. There in
Certainly
abstract
not.
algebra, that's not
How
true.
many planets are there, sir?
You can have a modular 2 system where 2 + 2 = 0.
How many
There's,
planets are
plenty
there
of
in
out-
this solar system?
I think 8.
Does that change?
Yes, based off of your categorization of planets. We
Yeah,
hold on. We tried
You need a
opting
mind
to a different
conceptualize the
planet.
number to
We had a
categorize
different optimization. We had a different clarification for what exactly a planet is, and it would increase it to 14 when we consider whether or not Pluto should be a planet. Yeah.
Or Pluto.
Hunter's right.
With Pluto, I thought it would be 9.
No. That's the reason we didn't include Pluto to be a planet, because it would have
Well, that
forced us to
changed.
add
Yeah,
more
true.
more objects to be planets. And we're like,
Okay,
we can
fine.
either go with 8 or 14.
Pluto
or
lives
just
matter.
math.
Are there a finite of celestial bodies within this solar system that are rotating around the sun?
Sure.
Okay, so there is a finite amount of things doing that thing, right? That
Sure.
is an accuracy, right? There's not infinite things,
When
right?
when we say infinite, I would invoke Aristotle's potential infinite rather than an
Yeah, if we
actual
go down to the
infinite.
atom
I'm
level.
saying no. I'm saying we could always find a bigger one. We can always find an arbitrarily big prime number. You
Again,
look for a
this is all
size.
philosophical, definitely not mind independent. All of
Without
it.
boundaries, right? Then there are no definitions.
Without boundaries, there are no definitions. Sure.
Yeah.
What
So
we're
then-
trying to figure out is what
And
objective
when we
is.
then we're talking about mathematics, We
Hold
have
on.
to have boundaries.
I'm the most constructivist on the math side of anyone. I'm just saying there
I don't know
are
about that,
certainly.
sir.
I definitely don't think that math is objective.
I agree.
Yeah, I was about to say, is math a discovery or an invention?
It's a discovery, 100%.
Invention.
It's a discovery.
Invention.
Either way, like, what if I?
Gosh, would have already always been universalized.
Wait. Did I say discovery? I meant invention. I'm sorry.
It's
I
invention.
meant invention.
I was actually very interested in the fact that you said that, considering everything you said.
Yeah.
No. Sorry. I got mixed up. I was like, obviously, no. Invention. It is an invention. We arbitrarily choose axioms, decide if they are useful, and then see what follows.
My question would be this then.
When does 1 plus 1 not equal 2?
In modular 1 systems, 1 plus 1 equals 0.
But is that
You don't
changing?
know what fucking math
Just to be
is?
clear, I'm not big on philosophy of math. When you say in modular systems, are you changing the meanings of like 1 and plus and 1
Yeah,
there?
they become equivalence classes.
Then you're not
for-
talking about the same proposition.
Yeah, it's not practical.
Okay,
usage.
sure. I'm redefining my terms. Okay.
Yeah, you're redefining.
Okay, then you're not. Then you're just talking past the person that says, "Does 1 plus 1 always equal 2?" You're not. You're not. When you say no, it doesn't. You're talking about a different proposition. You're not engaging with what he's asking.
I can probably agree with
Exactly.
you, but I can certainly say that in a lot of different systems, I could write 1 plus 1 equals 0 on the board, and it be absolutely marked true by by a math professor.
Well,
So
No, no, I'm not
am I
disagreeing
really
with that
talking
part.
Past him.
All right, algebra.
Yeah, if you're using the terms differently, of course you are. Yeah.
Also, in Euclidean geometry, the Oreo cookie is right next to Sarah's mouth and also infinitely far away. at the same
Right.
time.
Here's my thought experiment to you, Hunter. If I open a portal to another universe
Mhm.
and it's physically exactly the same as our universe, but there's no
Mhm.
conscious entities, do
Yeah.
the laws of mathematics that we use in our universe hold for that universe?
Could we model that universe given our I see mathematics as a model to orient ourselves in the universe. So I would say our mathematical models apply to those universes, but I don't say they exist
Practicality.
in those universes.
About
Yeah,
practicality.
they wouldn't exist.
Naming things for like
Well,
axioms for
No, I
definition.
agree.
Right?
Well, I mean,
Finding boundaries.
they're equally applicable to our universe as the other universe, right? So they're universe invariant or
Observations and evidence, right? That's if we
How
can't
do you know that,
apply
though?
these
the
things-
whole. Well, let me get to the point of the thought experiment. If there's another universe and I open up a portal to that other universe and it has exactly the same physical laws as our universe, our mathematics would apply. But would anyone say that a universe without any conscious entities has any moral laws within it?
With that, no.
Well, then there's no one who believes that morality is real on the panel. Or is there anyone?
it would
who-
just be a window, right?
No, that's not. But that's not. That was why we were going over the definition of objective morality so much. Is that what do you mean by real, right? So,
I mean that
something-
the laws of mathematics would apply to that universe, right? We could apply those laws equally, right? So they should be universe independent.
Keyword
whereas the laws of
apply.
morality-
Keyword
But that's not
apply,
the question.
right?
But that's not
Yeah,
the question.
Yeah,
we're
you
at.
could go to that universe. You could count the number of planets, and you'd end up with the same number if you use the rules from our universe as the rules for that universe.
Yes, but those rules are arbitrary that we have decided upon.
Right.
Okay, but they're equally functional in other universes.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay, what about morality?
Sure.
If it's the same rules of the universe, yes.
Even though there's no conscious entities in that universe.
That's where you're gonna. Okay, so that to me is
Here-
where I
here's
wanted
the
to
point.
get.
If I wipe out that universe in its entirety, have I done a morally wrong action?
Yeah.
I don't
would
know
s-
the answer. This is a thought experiment.
No, sure.
I just
I'm
want
not-
Tavo to keep talking because his voice is like so fucking smooth.
Thanks. I do. I'm a physician, but I do phone trees. So
Nice.
Uh-huh.
if you're having a medical or mental health emergency, please hang up and call 911.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
W. Nice.
Nice.
Oh my god, that was perfect.
Thanks for I
Somebody clip that shit.
Right.
So-
Oh yeah,
Um,
like with the thought experiment, right? So this really goes back to Ben's point, which is that these things do exist, regardless of whether we're there or not. And if they exist, regardless of whether we're there or not, then our minds are not applying to whether it's, you know, 2 leaves of tobacco or 1 leaf of tobacco. The mathematics still applies. It's either 1 or it's 2.
It's all just descriptions of reality. You call the big blob you're trying to describe reality, and everything we've come up with ever is our attempts to discern and describe it.
Yep. So, is the mic working? Sorry, I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you, Alan.
So where I was going to go with this, like, so when you think about like morality, my argument would always be morality requires an actor, right? And if you have an actor, they have to have a mind. So there's no such thing as a mind independent morality, right? I'm not going to say it's not objective. I'm just saying there's no such thing as mind independent morality because you require an actor to actually do morality. Like there's no, if you were to pick like murder as being an objective moral truth, well, if there are no minds or humans, then there's nobody to murder and nobody to commit it. So how is that mind independent? Or another prettier way I like to put it is that a moral fact of we should feed all unicorns so they don't starve makes no sense because there's no such thing as unicorns. So this whole idea that objective means
morality emerges from contingent, like conscious agents, if you can prove that it always emerges from them in some kind of fashion, couldn't you say that there's objective morality?
I'm not saying that there isn't. Okay,
no,
that's
that's what I would say.
If every single person agreed with this thing that we can't weigh, measure, or touch, we all just agreed with this concept, then yes, that would be objective. We all agree with it. Everybody does. We all can it's just there. It just is. And the problem is there's no mind independent things that we all agree on.
We don't.
Or why do you need agreement? Why do you need agreement? Why do you need agreement for something to be mind independent?
That's what's making it objective. That's why it's mind independent. Because
agreements doesn't make something objective.
The rock is still the rock, whether you think it's a rock, whether you're there or not, whether any of us are there or not. The rock is still a rock. That's what makes it objective.
Sure.
But
nobody has to agree on that.
Well, hold on, because if you're saying we, again, that was the point I was trying to raise to OE. How many of the people is the we? Is that everybody? Now, once you get to is that everybody, then you have to contend with, well, everybody don't agree on everything.
Anything.
Nothing.
Then wait a second. But what you're saying there is that omniscience is necessary to ground morality.
Yes.
No.
Was that what you think?
I don't believe in omnipotence, but I do believe
not omnipotence, just omniscience.
Omniscience is all knowing, and omnipotence is all powerful.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
No, and I don't see that. I don't see that as necessary either. Again, you know, I brought this up. The morality hinges on good and bad, right and wrong, right? And of course, there's the other words that we have for good and bad, which is worse, worst, better, best, right? And when you're talking about good and bad, okay, specifically good and bad or right and wrong, now we're talking about a viewpoint discrimination, right? This is where I brought up LMS in high school. When advertisers tell you this is a better product, what they're doing is they're trying to convince you that that product is better. Now they need to present evidence, which you decide whether it's proof or not. If it is the case that these people have a viewpoint, you're also going to have a viewpoint and have to make a decision. They're making a decision on that this is the greatest thing ever since sliced bread, but then also now you have to make a decision on whether you agree with them or not. That in of itself is subjectivity according to 2 independent minds.
Can I just throw something out there quick? Because I think there's some cross-talking happening. So, Balderson, when you said you need consensus for something to be objective, was that what you said? You need consensus?
No, I didn't say that you need consensus. I said that the rock is still a rock, whether you're there or not. It's mind independent.
Yeah, what was your point about consensus?
I wasn't the one talking about consensus.
You did say if everybody agrees on something, then it becomes objective or something like that.
It's just a rock. It just is. So I mean, if
What
you're
was your
taking
point about agreement?
consensus point, I don't know, but objectively, it's a rock because it just is.
I think you're solid on the first
So-
half and the second half shaky because people don't even agree on reality.
But you're saying for the rock. This is the point I wanted to make way in the beginning. There's something you're doing in your mind independent equals. How did you define? I keep forgetting how you said it because it's such, weight and measured, mind independent. It's like a metaphysical claim mixed with a quantitative claim. And now you're doing the same thing with a rock's very essence or being. A rock's being is to be a rock, and everyone knows it, but that's an empirical claim and a metaphysical claim. How are you bringing that into the ethical?
That's objective. That's what objective is. We don't argue about we can argue about whether the rock's good, whether the rock's useful, whether the rock's evil. We can argue about a million things. Whether my wife picked up too fucking many of the rocks and brought them home and filled up the doors of my trucks and makes the plastics rip off them. We can argue about all that shit. It's still a rock.
So objective just means
subjective.
Objective just means there's a being there. It has the kind of being it is, and that's what you mean by object.
Yeah.
Mind independent.
And so you're just sneaking in materialism into that.
There is
exactly. It's a material.
So your mind independent equals weight and measured is just not. It's just begging the question.
I'm not begging a question. I'm making it.
For materialism, yes.
No, it's because.
What's your argument for mind independent equals
materialism? Objective requires materialism. None of the other things all the subjective things we don't agree on.
But that's what I'm trying to get at. So objective doesn't mean holds in a world with no minds. That's not what objective means.
I agree.
It means like
literal definition's mind independent, bro.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's like maybe one very small slice of people might believe that. But objective means not constituted by the human subject's attitudes and preferences. That's objective.
So to make a good illustration of this is that you can have measurement without any minds. Okay, and how this is done is it's done in nature all the time. If you have a forest and you have a tall tree and you have a short tree, the tall tree measures the short tree, right? Because the short tree doesn't receive sunlight because it's shorter and the tall tree is blocking it out. So there are consequences to the short tree. It's because it's measured by the tall tree. And there's no mind required.
Measurement that kind of also leads you to the question of whether or not consciousness is mind independent, right?
There's 15 different units of measurement. Do I disagree that space is going to happen? Absolutely not. The unit of measurement, something we came up with in order to describe the reality of what we're seeing, and that's absolutely subjective.
There is some legitimate conjecture about whether or not a rock would exist in a universe independent of observation. Now, this goes
can
beyond.
I read this real quick because I want to make sure that it's understood. In philosophy, objectivity is the concept that truth, reality, and values exist independently of any individual's mind, perceptions, or belief. Something is considered objective if it remains true, regardless of what people think or feel about it.
So, but that means that no morality cannot, by definition, be objective.
Yes,
morality requires an actor, and an actor requires a mind. So therefore, you can't have speaking objective morality is nonsense.
That is correct, sir. I am glad.
No, I'm not.
Objective morality denied.
It's probably reasonable to point out at least that in a universe independent of observation, on a quantum mechanical perspective, there is some thinking that a rock would not exist.
But it does, because
why from a quantum mechanical perspective?
Because the waveform never collapses.
That's not what the observer. That's not what the observer effect means. The
Yeah,
observer
that-
effect doesn't
it-
affect consciousness. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of quantum mechanics, and it drives me crazy every time. The observer effect is whether or not the light is on, whether or not a photon struck the particle so that it collapses the wave, because that's the only way you can see it is if the light is. Wait, hold on.
Right.
The only way that you can see and observe, it's kind of like how you can never know the actual pressure of a tire, because in order to observe it, you actually have to poke it and release some of the pressure. That's what the observer effect shows you. It's not whether or not there's a conscious person looking at it. It's whether or not light hit it and struck an eyeball, because in order to measure something, you have to be able to interact with it.
Okay.
That's what quantum mechanics teaches.
Okay, I understand
Great
that.
analogy, by the way.
I understand that, but what you're
Let's-
arguing,
Someone's got to
Let's,
suck my dick, right?
what
Someone's
you're
got
arguing-
to.
Listen.
what you're arguing
let's-
against.
Sarah, I
let,
don't make the rules.
Let's let Kraut wants to make his exit number 1, and then number 2, we're gonna have to take a little griff break because we're only 7 out of the 10 on the dono goal. And remember, you can send donos either by gifting out memberships or sending the amount on the dono goal itself. But Kraut, go ahead and get the fuck out of here. Tell them whatever you want to say.
Hey, yeah, I think the only two people, I might be wrong, but the only two people that really understand what objective, as the definition without morality, objective is Ben and Clay. Now, to the morality part, me and Ben might disagree. Maybe we can have a discussion on Discord about that, Ben. But nobody really gave an example of how you can, like, I believe you can have objective morality because, I believe in God and that is the objective morality. An objective is true or false, like Ben and Clay say. What is that noise?
I don't know. Who's got the?
It was you.
Maybe Hunter's getting that dick sucking over there.
Damn, that sounds like a long leg there, but straight across the ground.
I'll make this quick. I think a lot of the people on this panel don't even know what objective means besides Ben and Clay. So, I can't really say anything more than that because that means it requires me to stay on longer. And I'm sure people are in the back wanting to take my spot. To all the norms, it's always a great pleasure to see you guys.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's not me.
Stop it.
Dude, if she's that loud with the suction, don't apologize, bro. Just take it.
Hey, look.
Hell yeah, brother.
Everybody needs
Ben
to look
knows
at
ball.
what objective actually means. Ben said it's outside of humans' opinions, so we don't have an opinion on what objective means. It's either true or false. Now, when you know that, then you can argue the morality part. Sarah, thanks for having me. Ben, take it easy. Clay, you have a good one. Effigy, I really hope we could agree on something tonight. I felt like we could, but we didn't have a chance to really talk.
Thank you, Kraut. We appreciate you. Hot damn. Who is that?
I think what you're
All
arguing
jokes
is-
aside, that is not me.
I think what you're arguing against, Hunter, is the common way argument is stated, but that's
Oh, is it Tavo? Tavo, I think it's you.
it's definitely not me because I'm muting myself.
Let me try something.
Oh, yeah, it's you, Alley Cat.
All right, it's my air conditioning. I'll turn it off.
Well, here, hold on.
My point, Hunter, was not that you need human consciousness to make the waveform collapse, but you need some receiver to interact with the waveform for collapse to occur.
But
in other words, if no interaction ever happens, then no collapse ever occurs.
But just simple radiation can do that. Like the
Yes,
sun.
yeah. It doesn't have to be human level consciousness.
But
it just has to be a receiver of the waveform. Something
Maybe I
interacting with it.
misunderstood what you
But
were saying then.
You
'cause
did, yeah. You misunderstood it to be the common way that this argument is stated, which
But-
is that a human or level consciousness or some simulation of human consciousness is required in order to collapse the waveform. And I agree with you. That's the way this is commonly presented. That's not at all what I was saying.
Sure, I kind of want to hold your feet to the fire a little bit because I don't even know how I could be misunderstood. You said that in a universe without human consciousness, it's argued that there couldn't be a boulder because the waveform.
No.
would collapse.
I would not have said that. I would not have said human
Okay.
consciousness. Yeah.
What
yeah,
did you
just-
say?
I said it's arguable that in a universe with no perception of the I don't remember what I said, but it's not human level consciousness that's needed. You just need to the waveform needs to interact with something for a collapse to occur.
Okay.
In other words, it's Young's slit experiment, right? Until if there's no observation of the waves, if they don't interact with anything, The waves just sort of everything stays as a wave. It doesn't turn into a particle.
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
A couple of
Speaking
questions.
of smiling,
Sorry.
hang that thought. And Fourth Wiseman comes up with Big Ten, says, over on Ben's side too, at what size scales does dust become sand, become pebble, become stone, become rock, become boulder, become monolith, become a mountain? Just big dust.
I have an answer for this. My answer is, as a linguistic constructivist, whenever we call it that, we call it a mountain, it's a mountain. That's it. That's when it becomes one. When we point to it and say it is.
Based. God damn. Thank you.
I like that.
And actually, Fourth Wiseman spared you all from having to grift. He comes in with a big 50, says, fill the void or be forever fallen into the abyss. I don't know how many more, Sarah. Never mind. Get cracking, bitches. And I may share some inspiring insights that are incoming globally. Pump that goal. I'll count that as a win combined with the objective ethics set 1 over. We had James Farley and Dragon Fist set 2 over. I'll count that in. Tootie Bug gifted out 5 Gauntlet memberships and got her own membership. Andy sent 1 in. And then, of course, Fourth Wiseman sent this 1 in. So I'll count that as a goal. Congratulations, you lucky fuckers. I was about to go to fucking bed. I got to get up at...
Or dropping a line like he's fucking Apocalypse from the X-Men.
Fill the
void, be forever fallen into the abyss.
That's a good approach.
Oh man, but yeah, I do have here's what I'll do. I do have a 6 a.m. wake up, and it's 1:30 now. So here's what I will do. I will go for 1 more hour. So I'm not going to enforce any goal, but Mr. Balderson, I'll leave it up to you at the end of that hour. If you want to continue, I'll just send, because you all can stay right here and Mr. Balderson can continue on. But as for me, I'm checking out on my dono goal obligations. But if you want to incite some extension time later, I would highly recommend you go and incentivize Mr. Balderson to be agreeable to continuing in an hour. All right, Ant, I interrupted your thought process. My apologies. I'll kick it back to you.
Oh, thank you. I don't know who was talking about quantum waveforms, but I had some questions for them since they sound knowledgeable. These are legitimate, just questions, no gotchas. The first question is: are you familiar with quantum waveforms or No, that's not it. Not waveforms. Sorry, quantum reference frames. Excuse me. Brains all over the place.
I don't know shit about. I know it sounds like I know a lot about physics. I know enough done on TAVO. Okay, that's what I know.
Okay,
I know how to scream in someone's face and make me look like I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Well, but
don't ask me questions.
In my
okay?
defense, like the whole panpsychism analogization of the quantum realm is based on exactly what I said. So I'm not incongruent with the state of the understanding of quantum mechanics. Go ahead.
Is somebody's AC going again?
No, all I was trying to guess is I was wondering if you understood what quantum reference frames were, could we tie perhaps wave collapse to those quantum reference frames?
I mean, there have been a number of reconciliations of how the wave collapses, and we don't really know what's happening. So there are a few different explanations. I'm just saying one possible explanation, which is congruent with our current understanding of quantum mechanics, is that if the wave has nothing to interact with ever, then it's possible at least that no collapse occurs and everything stays in the existence of a wave. It never turns into a particle. So matter never forms. That's one possible.
Oh, fuck shit. How'd that blowjob go, Hunter?
It was very nice. Thank you. It was. Oof. Thank you.
You know, it's kind of like pizza. You just never. It's always.
You never get sick of it. You really never do.
Especially with pineapples.
Yeah.
Morning, night, cold, hot.
Oh my god.
What voltage and
someone
amperage
kill
do you
Alley
use?
Cat? Just someone boot him. Okay, this is getting too much. Alley Cat, I appreciate you being on the panel, but I don't
With it.
appreciate your AC. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It
your
is-
AC, your
I
AC.
know, it's off now. I literally turned it off. Like pulled the plug.
Vote him anyway. Send Sarah some money.
Bro.
So I wanna bring the person who said that Ben and Clay only know what objective means. I'm very curious about that, because how are we when we say he says you have to start with saying objective is true or false, and that's your starting point, and there's truth to that, but there is so much more to be said than than just that, because subjective claims also have a truth or falsity to them.
Well,
So
the reason, Andy, is because we're talking about philosophical concepts. We're not talking about like other meanings here to objectivity. We're talking about specifically philosophical concepts, whether something is good or bad in a moral sense or an ethical sense or a principle sense. This is really either belief, religion, philosophy, those concepts. And so because of that, defining objectivity in the opposition of subjectivity is very important. Otherwise, we're not talking about belief systems.
I'm saying it hasn't been done. That's my point. It hasn't been done with that definition. Well, I would rather go a route where you say objective is closer to conformity, or adequatio is the old term. I think that's much closer.
The difference is objective is universally true. Subjective is true to you. It might
No. I don't think so.
100%.
Right. Yeah, you could have universal consensus among the entire human race, but that doesn't mean that they're making an objective truth, right?
Yes.
True.
Yeah, it's
The
still
objective thing exists without the whole human race. That's what you guys keep trying to do. It don't fucking matter whether you agree. The objective thing, the rock, is still the rock.
We're not disagreeing with that part.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
that's
why
objective reality.
Yeah, there
So
you go.
what, there is also subjective truths, but those are true to you. While Hunter might think a blowjob's great, there might be some other guy around. I don't know who the fuck he is, but he might not think it's great.
No, that's
I hate
not
them.
possible.
Oh my God.
That's
No,
not
really,
possible.
No. I saw this happen on Speakeasy's panel. All of them fuckers were sitting there telling everybody about how blowjobs are terrible. Okay? So this shit really happens in real life.
Nope.
Damn.
Getting a blowjob is
Flip
an
that
objective.
I don't know what's wrong with that
Well,
guy.
I was
but
wrong.
blowjobs
Thank you,
being
Clay.
good are not universally true. Apparently, that's not
Okay,
correct.
but there are three things going on here. So I'm going to use an example. It's not the best example, but there's the thing, the measured, the measurer, and then the thing itself. And the thing itself that you keep using is the rock. And the thing itself, if you have a particular metaphysic, like let's say you're a Christian, you say that thing itself is measured by a divine intellect. And if you don't have that, then you have to say it's a bare fact that that thing exists. Then there are two other facts beyond that. And this is where the example, I'm going to just kind of make this up. So it's similar to Aquinas' example he uses. But let's say think of a house, right? The house is standing between the architect's mind and the mind of someone observing the house that was built. And so relative to the architect, the house is measured by the formal idea he has of the house in his mind, or the blueprints, right? It's a good or correct house, or true to the idea he has insofar as it matches the plan that's in his mind. Relative to an observer, though, the house...
God, Alley Cat, you're fucking AC! Lord have mercy.
He muted himself and then said sorry. Y'all saw that, right?
I even hit the
I didn't say sorry, I said no.
I even hit the
Well,
background
we couldn't
button.
tell what you were saying because you were muted.
Is your wife vacuuming back there?
Doing her thing.
Somebody boot him and get Omar up here.
Yeah, I've got Sirs and Omar. I know Omar's a fan favorite on this topic. So if you want to boot the air conditioning man.
Here, I'll spare Alley Cat. I gotta
I'll
bounce
step down,
anyways.
too.
I appreciate you having me, Sarah, as always.
Oh!
Brandon, it was nice
Griff.
to meet you, Brandon.
Sorry,
It's all
guys. You
right,
guys are
'cause
going to
we
have to
got-
listen to the AC.
Well, we've got two backstage anyway, so somebody could still boot AC.
Not
That's true.
personal.
All right,
Thank
see
you
you
so
guys.
much, Brandon. It was a pleasure having you up again.
Nice
Thank
to
you,
meet
Sarah. See you guys.
All right.
I'll
Zers is
step down
next
too.
in. Who's that?
I just,
Andy?
yeah, my point was the whole doctrine of objectivity. It's changed in recent years, but for the majority of the West, there's this idea that direction is objectivity, and it depends on the direction of measurement. And so that can still leave room for what we would call subjective, but it's still called objective. So I think there's just a lot of crosstalk in terminology here, and that
Before
probably
you
needs
go,
to get
Andy,
pinned down.
oh, actually, before you go, actually, I do understand that, and I do know that that's a thing, and I actually kind of agree with it. So subjectivity exists in the mind, but objectivity existing outside of the mind would be a goal, right? So that's why even in philosophy, and that's why OE kept bringing it up. It's the goal, what we're reaching for, what we're striving for. So whatever that high top of the pyramid is, right? When we get to that tippy top, that's it. There's nothing else. And so I do agree with that concept, but this concept, in my humble opinion, cannot exist without God.
Okay.
It can exist in one direction without God.
Could I?
Fair enough.
Objective ethics kept saying that like the goal can be subjective, but then how to get there is objective. That's just subjective.
Oh, I like that.
Ethics, right?
Yeah.
Am I crazy?
Yeah.
And also,
yeah.
just
So,
from a
like, for
measurement-
instance, like Ben was saying earlier, like a rock is still a rock, right? A tree still exists whether we're there to see it, correct? But how we perceive the tree or perceive the rock would still be subjective. So objectivity and subjectivity can play well with each other, just depending on how the sentence is formulated.
Which way
And
is
then
up?
also
Which
the
way is
whole
down?
measurement statement. The measurement is also subjective. The rock is the rock, whether you're measuring it in kilograms, pounds, it always is what it was. And so all those other things are for you to figure out your juxtaposition with it. And that way you can form your subjective opinions.
Well, I
I
mean,
literally just no. I think that's so. Objectivity is just being on the measured end of that relation. So why is a rock? Because the Christian would just say, oh, because that's the divine mind that created the rock, and he has a blueprint in his mind of it, right? Then how do we know it's a rock? Well, we can be mistaken if we call it a clod of dirt, because there's an actual blueprint that is being measured against, right? So that's what objectivity is, a measured relation. And it can go in two directions.
Like the difference of a diamond and an emerald, right? We can actually take the rocks and compare them to see what kind of rock they are, and then actually classify them. Of course, now we've got the language to do that, but the diamond is different from the emerald.
Yeah. I mean,
but none of that's subjective.
Hunter, to answer your
This is
question,
all just further refining something that is objective.
Hold on. Ben, someone's trying to talk to me. Shut the hell up.
Okay.